Welcome back to the Angry Chicken, guys, and we're totally not starting after things just caught on fire. I'm Garrett Weinzerl. Dills Gregory is here with me. Jocelyn is out on vacation, and we're here to talk Hearthstone. Dills.
Yes.
Welcome back, sir.
Oh, it's good to be back, man. It's been so long since we've chatted. So many things have happened.
So many things. So many
so many things yet to happen. Oh, man.
Things. Yeah. So you're partnered on Twitch, so folks
partnered
should
on
go.
Twitch.
Folks
Jocelyn's on vacation.
Yep.
You're all caught up. Let's go.
Yeah, pretty much. I do want to remind our patrons who are supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC that we have scheduled our next patron hangout. So it's going to be next Wednesday, the 24th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you've never done one of these before and you need the Skype information, just head on over to patreon.com/TAC and look for the post called Patron Hangout 82416. Has all the info you need right there.
There's a lot to talk about, so I'm excited for this one. It'll be cool.
Yeah. I think folks are going to have some questions. I would assume that they have some topics, some things they want to discuss in the realm of Hearthstone.
Tell us how wrong we are about cards and
exactly.
amazing decks they've come up with, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, here Brian Kibler's going to call in and tell us Purify's the best thing ever. That's not
he's on the hype train for the priest stuff, but actually we're going to talk about one of his priest decks later, which I think is actually a pretty good deck.
Yeah, we will. Absolutely. Just before we get in the news, one last thing I want to let everyone know about and remind anyone, any of my Florida brethren or people within driving distance of Florida, we are having the biggest fireside gathering we ever had we're ever going to have, or so far, this weekend. So it starts Friday on the 19th, and it goes all weekend. Cool, the crackle is back, so I've got some work. Doesn't matter, I'm doing this. It starts this Friday, goes all weekend. We're going to be having a big public event for anyone that wants to come, but we're also hosting players from the Tavern Hero tournament, and we'll be hosting players from the Hearthstone World Championship preliminaries on day 1 and 2 as well. So a big thing. We're really stoked that Blizzard is letting us do this for our region. So come on out. Details are over at meetup.com/Florida Fireside. So, with that out of the way, let's dive into this week's Hearthstone news.
Good news, everyone!
Oh, no.
So, hey, Dills, did you notice that you were only getting 40 gold quests?
I don't pay attention to quests very much, but yeah, I did notice it. Because I had gone on to my Europe and Asia accounts to do some arena. I was like, that's odd. I'm not getting, win 7 games or any of that stuff. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But apparently that was a thing. That
was a thing. There was a bug this past week where we could only get 40 gold quests. Nothing above 40 gold. It has since been fixed. So if you were wondering, WTF, well, you don't need to worry about it anymore. This was mildly annoying, I must say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. To me, it's like, I don't know if you've gotten to this point, but I barely pay attention to the quests I have anymore.
I still get in and switch around based on quests, unless it's Rogue and Druid. Then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait till I can X you out because I don't like those classes.
Generally I just X out quests that for classes I'm not playing to play and hope that I get one that I am, and then if I do, cool. But if not, I don't know. I got 5,000 gold again already after it doesn't take very long if you just play a lot.
Yeah. I'm playing some Control Priest, so I was really excited when I got in today and had a Priest quest, so that was nice. But anyways, Ben Brode has been chatty on Twitter and the like. He was asked if they would ever consider adding an option to increase performance on the mobile version of Hearthstone, and he said, hey guys, we're basically always working on making that better. So
yeah, the issue I have with the mobile version right now is just how large the app is, data wise. It's like multiple gigs or whatever right now, and it just keeps getting bigger every time they add stuff. So that's a little concerning. I'm sure there are people out there with 16 gig iPhones who are going, yeah, I can't have any music on my phone. It's either Hearthstone or the newest Kanye. And
well, I mean, you really should be doing Hearthstone anyway.
Yeah. And when you're talking those choices, or the new Green Day record that's coming out.
Don't trigger me.
Stop right there.
Don't trigger me. I like that new song. I like it's loud, it's fast, it sounds like Green Day. Sign me up.
Like Green Day to me.
Yep.
But yeah, it's gotten a little massive. So
It has.
I'm hoping that I would rather that's being worked on than anything else. Like finding ways to more efficiently store everything.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. Benbro was asked if Archmage's Apprentice card from the Medivh versus Malchezaar encounter in the prologue of One Night in Karazhan is meant to be a young Khadgar, and he replied, perhaps.
Well, I mean, he's literally the Archmage's apprentice, right? So
Yes, it would make sense. It would make sense that would be a young Khadgar. Hell, we're dealing with a young Medivh already, so I feel like it should have been like a little baby Khadgar.
yeah, he's like the John Stamos version of Medivh, right? Like he's got the flowing hair.
Hair is majestic. I want Medivh's hair, dude.
So I wanted his hair so bad, I made it one of my sub emotes.
Dude,
it's my face with Medivh's hair.
Oh, that's
awesome.
Fantastic. Oh, I love it.
It's really good. Dills Div, yep.
Dills Div.
Get Dills Divs in the chat.
DeVilles or Medills. Medills. It should be Medills.
Well, yeah, but yeah.
Really
I was gonna go with that, but you have to have Dills as the first part of it when you do the Twitch emotes. So
I like Medills.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Anyways,
throw a bunch of them in the chat right now.
yeah, absolutely. But obviously, the big news since our last Prime episode is that Karazhan Week 1 is here, man. We got the prologue, we got the parlor, and as a matter of fact, folks can go and watch you and I sitting down, palling around, and playing through the prologue, playing through the parlor, and then also building a Yoggenload deck with the new Hunter card. That's all over on the YouTube, over at youtube.com/AMoveTV, or you may have noticed an audio version pop up on the Angry Chicken Brawl feed over the weekend, because we did that in place of a Brawl episode on Thursday.
You had a nice long 2-hour extra show, whole bunch of content, but it was really, really fun. So I'm hoping we do that again this week.
I'm hoping
'cause I enjoyed it.
I'm hoping so as well. Everyone seemed to really, really dig it. So I think it's safe for at least the next 3 weeks to do that instead of Brawl coverage.
It's enjoyable for me to play through the content that way too, because it doesn't even feel like a show. Like I'm going to do that anyway, right? But now I get to like hang with you and do it and talk through all the stuff that's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I had an absolute blast. It was some of the most fun I've ever had going through an adventure, and I'd love to keep doing that. So
let's before we move on to the other stuff, real quick. We're not even going to get too into this, but we should just mention it. If you've noticed that mulligans are weird nowadays, they changed that. So you don't see the opponent's mulligan until you've mulliganed.
Exactly, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So there's no more waiting game.
Standoffs in competitive Hearthstone tournaments where they just sit there and don't mulligan. Hopefully. And then the other weird thing that was changed that didn't really get talked about was a bunch of the tokens were increased in mana cost. And so like when you play a card that makes a token, a lot of times those tokens would actually cost like 0 or 1 or whatever. They got bounced back to your hand, but now they've like a lot of them have gone up by 1 mana, and so stealth nerf or stealth buff to evolve shaman. Weird stuff, weird wild stuff.
Yeah, I would also argue it's a bit of a side buff to mill rogues or any rogues that use vanish.
Sure, yeah. Anybody who bounces cards back to your hand on purpose, especially tokens, or a nerf to youthful brewmaster. I guess I don't know. But I think they were just.
I don't know why you would bounce one of those tokens back in the first place. It's not like there's there's
no reason to ever do that.
A benefit of replaying.
Yeah. But I mean, a situation may arise where you want to just play him as a 3/2, and then you're like, oh, well, I get to replay this for 1 mana. And then you're like, well, why is this 2 mana now?
You're right. You're right. You have a knife juggler on board, you want an extra juggle or something. But
yeah, but it was funny because it wasn't really mentioned anywhere, and the mulligan thing wasn't really mentioned anywhere either. So people were posting in the Hearthstone subreddit like, yo, did this change? Why didn't nobody tell me? And yes, those things changed. You're not going crazy.
Awesome. Well, dude, I really dug the first wing of Karazhan quite a bit. The parlor was a lot of fun. The prologue was cool. I thought it was surprising that we dealt with Malchezaar right off the get-go, although I have a feeling we may see him again.
Dealt with Malchezaar.
See what I didn't mean to do there?
It was It was one of those situations that's very familiar to WoW players where you don't kill the boss, you just defeat him. and then he comes back later.
I would argue that that's really anyone that dies in World of Warcraft. It's potential that they're not really gone.
No.
Take the beginning of Legion, for example. Spoilers.
And even if you are dead in World of Warcraft, you're not really gone. There's there's lots of ways to re-enter the story.
Yes, there are, including and not limited to freaking time travel.
Yep. Yeah, Gul'dan wasn't rezzed. We just went back in time, found another Gul'dan. Now he's up here in the new future. I don't know, man.
There are so many different versions of Gul'dan. Like the version in Hearthstone looks nothing like the version in Heroes, looks nothing like the version in World of Warcraft, which looks nothing like the version in the movie.
Yeah. So, I mean, literally, Gul'dan is trying to res Illidan. One of Illidan's main sources of power is Gul'dan's skull that he carries in his hand.
Yeah, so Gul'dan is trying to use the energy of dead Gul'dan from kind of almost dead Illidan.
Mm-hmm. To bring back his head. I don't know, man. It's all weird.
And the next thing you know, it's just going to be an episode from Futurama where Gul'dan finds out he's his own grandfather. So, don't need to see that.
It wouldn't surprise me if that was a World of Warcraft like plot. I'd be like, yep, that makes sense.
Oh boy, yeah. Don't need to see that fan fiction, but yeah, the parlor overall was really fun. We've been hearing from a lot of people that the heroic chess event is one of the most frustratingly difficult things the Hearthstone has ever put in. But
people also love it too. I still haven't tried it because I just went directly from beating the wing to playing with the new cards on ladder. But once the whole thing is out, that's generally when I feel like going back and trying to clear all of it on heroic. So we'll probably get to it at that point. But I've heard that people say that the design of it is so awesome that they want to be able to play their friends chess, Hearthstone chess.
I do want that as well.
Would be cool.
I guessed it on Well Met over the weekend, and that was one of the things they brought up, that they want it as a brawl at least once, so you can play chess against another person. Obviously, you'd have to get rid of the cheat hero power.
Well, so there's two ways I think you could do it. One is give both players the heroic hero power, which is not discover a chess piece, but move a chess piece. So, like when you play it on heroic, when you do the regular, you get to discover a new chess piece, right? So you get 3 options, you get to pick one.
Yep.
It's like you constantly are drawing new chess pieces. In the heroic version, you're limited to a certain number of chess pieces, and your hero power is to actually move them on the board. So once you've placed them, you can then move them around. So I think if both players had that one, that would be pretty cool because it'd be a lot of strategy.
It would be pretty sweet. I would love it. I'd be if this ended up as a tavern brawl, it's probably the most excited I would ever be for a tavern brawl, at least at this point, because I really enjoyed it. I think we both had a very good time on it. It was just so cool how they played with our expectations of what a game of Hearthstone is, and they pulled from other games as well. There's plenty of digital card games out there where there is this kind of lane mechanic where minions that are across from one another automatically attack each other, and I'd like to see that represented in Hearthstone.
Legends has lanes. The new Elder Scrolls game.
Yeah, and there was some game, I can't remember the name of it anymore, that existed before Hearthstone that had lanes as well. So it's not a foreign concept, but I'd like to seeing it in the card game that I actually care about.
Soulforge? Is Soulforge what you're thinking of?
No, it was something.
Okay.
It was some no-name piece of crap that I grabbed when I was just bored and really into Magic.
Okay. Because the Soulforge was a game that Brian Kibler, I think, helped make, and it was an iPad game. And you would put, like, there was like a bunch of lanes, and you would put a minion there, and then he would go face, unless someone put in another minion directly across from it, right? And then they would have to battle.
I'm not.
I mean, it got that
sure
concept like worked for a while, but then it also got kind of boring after a while.
Yeah, so. it's not my favorite thing in the world, but it was fun to see that mechanic in Hearthstone, and I thought it was brilliant for the chess event.
Yeah, it was really well done. And it was also very, like, what I liked about the chess event, too, was at first you were kind of, going in with no knowledge of how it was going to work. It was really intuitive. Like, you would see it happen once, and you're like, oh, I get it. And then you're off and running.
Yeah, because folks, again, you can go and watch it, but we were sitting there like, now, do you take damage when you deal it?
Yeah.
Or do you only receive damage when they deal? And it was just fun to figure out. It was a fun discovery scenario. So damn it, Dills, maybe there is something to Team 5 when they're like, guys, we don't like to explain the tavern brawls because we'd like the sense of discovery. It's like, you may have gotten me with chess, because I think if I knew how chess worked going in, I wouldn't have had as fun of a time.
You wouldn't get that aha moment.
Yeah, exactly. Aha! You have to say it like the card.
Fireball.
Aha.
Fireball. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So, well, before we go in and start talking about the multitude of decks that have been popping up with the new cards, let's thank our patrons who are supporting us over at patreon.com/TAC. Keep your eyes on the Patreon, guys, because we're going to be making an announcement about what our next goal will be very soon. That vote was really split. I'm thinking we may just have to alter or juggle the two pieces of content. We have to do Arena 1 month and collect the meta the next, because it's pretty much split. Almost 50-50. But anyways, this episode we wanted to thank the following patrons. Thank you to Scott T, Neon Dragon, Jamie O, Philip B, John JP, Eric VH, Anton Z, and JS. Thank you all so much for your support. We really do appreciate it. And if you're out there listening and you really like the Angry Chicken and you're wondering how you could support us, patreon.com/TAC is where you can do so. The show, it's always going to be free, but that's how you can support us if you see fit. So thanks for that. Dills, you ready to strategize?
Dude, I'm ready, man. There's a lot to talk about.
Let's do it.
Hit it very hard.
Wanna blow something up? Time to pay!
So there's been a few decks popping out. You know, we didn't get a ton of cards because it's only week 1. We've only been through one wing. But some things have been popping up. And what do you want to start with?
Let's just talk about the discard lock first, because I think a lot of people thought that wasn't going to actually be a thing until Malchezaar's Imp got here. But with just the Silverware Golem, this deck actually works. So apparently this was a deck, I think it was Tice. So I was playing with one of my patrons on my stream last night, Dan O, who brought me this deck. And he said, yeah, he got it from Tice, and it's basically a super aggro Warlock that plays with a bunch of these discard cards, because sometimes you get like a lot of benefit, like the Silverware Golem being put on the table for free, or a Fist of Jaraxxus. But also sometimes you can just empty your hand and just play discard cards without the discard effect, right? So even without getting the benefit of getting a free 3/3 or 4 damage somewhere, you just have a ton of 1-drops and stuff, and you just vomit your hand onto the board and then draw Doomguard and play it with no discards. So
right, it has those two goals. It works twofold. So you can just flood, and that's great. But that also plays into the discard, because, like you said, sometimes it's the only card in your hand. It's like, sweet, I don't have to discard anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when you draw Doomguard off the top and you just play it, and then you get to so there's a lot of plays that end up happening that way. One of the cool plays, too, is things like Darkshire Librarian is in the deck, which is the 3/2 that discards a card when you play it, but then draws a card when it dies. So when you play this without discarding, because it's an empty hand, it's just a free draw card. It's like a free life tap.
Yeah.
And it works out great.
It's funny. That's the card I'm the most excited about being in here, because that was a card I was very excited about, theoretically, looking at it in a bubble when Old Gods was announced. It was like, man, this is a cool card, but there's not enough synergy. You can't build a discard lock deck yet. So, but I remembered looking at him like, man, this is a cool card. I wish it worked. So I'm very excited that it's found a home in a deck now.
I tell people, give this deck a try. You want to go for early board control, like do a couple of early value trades if you can. But around turn 4 or 5, you swap and you're a face deck from then on out. It has enough reach because of Fist of Jaraxxus, Doomguard, and Power Overwhelming and Soulfire. So there's a lot of ways to just get that finishing burst damage that you need. And I was beating like Cthulhu Warriors before they ever got to the turn 7 gain 10 armors and stuff.
Ooh, that's gross.
They were just dying on turn 5 and 6, And that's a good feeling. The other card that's interesting in this deck is the Wrathguard. Wrathguard was a card that, when it came out, I was like, it's going to be tough to find a spot for this. So it's the 2-mana 4/3. And I tested playing Tiny Knight of Evil, which is the 2-mana 3/2 that goes up +1/+1 every time you discard a card. The problem with that is it's a 2-mana 3/2 that turns into a 4/3 if you can discard, whereas Wrathguard starts out as a 4/3, right? So it's like you don't have to do any work. Wrathguard just is a 4/3. And you don't care about your own health because you're just going to be doing so much damage to them that who gives a crap that you take damage when it gets damaged, right?
Yep.
All you're looking for is just stats, like more stats for the cost than you're supposed to get, and that's what this card gives you. So, very strong deck. The official name is Disco Lock, which fits into the One Night in Karazhan
It works
theme
on
very
multiple
well.
levels because
Yep.
it's
So, yeah.
discarding, but it's a disco-themed expansion.
And by the way, when Malkazar's Imp actually shows up, which I believe is at week 3, I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure you just take out Voidwalker for it because it has the same stats for the same cost, and then it has a benefit, and then you just go. And you go with the same list, and it probably works even better.
Yep.
Like smooths everything out. So
Yep. Very cool. We have links to all of this in the show notes, by the way, so if you're listening on the download, go to amove.tv/TAC and look for the episode 166 post for a link to the show notes and to these deck lists. So let's move on. And for those watching the video version, please excuse me because XSplit is being super weird after I did a fresh install of Windows. I'm going to have to pull things in.
more ways than one.
In a very, oh God, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, as a matter of fact, if you're watching
Crackle going on as well.
if you're watching the video version on VOD, it's impressive that it exists because it may not even make it up on VOD. So
You'll have to like take the audio and then overlay it over the video. And oh man,
Yep.
I don't envy that.
nope, not going to be fun at all. So anyways, don't look at me. Look at, instead, Brian Kibler's Control Priest, which I have been playing.
This is a really fun deck.
I'm not in love with it.
Yeah.
I am not in love with it, but I do like it.
So
It's growing on me. It's an acquired taste.
I'll say this: this deck has a lot of interesting plays, and I have a slightly different version. I took his basic idea, his basic premise, but I threw in a couple of different. I don't have Harrison. I think I do. Oh yeah, I don't have Resurrect. Instead, I have Mind Vision, which I just find more fun. Resurrect is really fun too, but mind visioning their cards, I don't know. It's like I have mind vision and thought steal. It's just so fun to do.
I love Resurrect. The issue is there are loot hoarders in here, and 9 times out of 10, that's what comes out of the Resurrect.
Yeah, but at least it's a two mana card, or you know what I mean? Like it's not terrible. It's not the worst thing that could happen.
And that's not realistic stats. I'm just saying it's what it feels like.
Yeah.
It feels like every time I Resurrect, it's a loot hoarder.
Yeah, no, I get you. Like that's the problem that I have with running Resurrect in this deck, but I get why he does it because it activates your Pyromancers. You can also sometimes get the play where you resurrect a Pyromancer and then the Pyromancer goes off. So
yeah, this is different actually from the. This is quite different from the Kibler Control Priest deck list I saw.
okay. Well, he's been altering it pretty much every day. So
Okay.
this was the one. This is the last one that he was playing on his stream yesterday.
Okay, so it's the most up to date. Yeah, because mine
so its
does
win
not.
conditions are Yogg and Elise Starseeker, and essentially what it does is it just tries to hold off and hold off and hold off and stall. And because you have Priest of the Feast and a ton of spells, you can actually just never die against like aggro decks, right? They're trying to kill you, and you're removing their stuff and gaining 3 life every time you kill something.
Priest of the Feast is fantastic.
Oh, it's so good against Zoo, Hunter, Shaman, all those aggro decks that used to just kill Priest before it could get set up. Those decks you can now outpace them, right, with your healing.
I am so surprised what a removal target that this is. I've been playing this deck, and I have been seeing people just use 2 to 3 cards to get rid of Priest of the Feast because they know how long it can make the game go.
Yeah. I mean, I still hold to the fact that I think Water Elemental is the better individual card.
Oh God, yes.
But, but in a deck like this, it really this does take advantage of what Priest of the Feast offers. So
right.
Yeah.
And that's 6 health, man. It's got so much to work with. It synergizes so well with your Northshire clerics. If you're running them, it looks like Kibler has gotten rid of them.
Yeah, clerics he got rid of because in the control matchup, you don't want to overdraw too much, and a lot of times the priests, the clerics would be a detriment more than a help, right?
Yeah.
So he I think what his argument is that Loot Hoarder is enough draw already, and also your thought stealing. So
yeah,
and you have Power Word Shield as well.
Like I said,
so you do have some other ways to draw.
Yeah, this version is very different from what I have been playing.
I would argue that. That cleric can come out of most priests at this point. It used to be such a staple. The problem that it just gets run over by 3/2s, right? And there's a lot of decks that can just kill it for 0 value, right?
Well, and with Velen's Chosen being gone, it's just
with Velen, yeah, exactly.
I've been running it because the old version of Kibler's Control deck did have it, but I don't keep it for an opening hand. It always gets thrown back at this point because there's just no point. You don't need it early on. You need it later when you're healing
late game
up.
card.
You
now,
drop it and then heal something, and you're just getting you have it just for the draw. So you're right. It already has the 2 loot hoarders. It has Start Elise, which gives you more card draw. This version's currently running Harrison Jones, and there's no shortage of weapon wielding classes at this point. So yeah, I like this. I think it has enough draw.
And also on later turns, you're probably playing out your full mana for value, and you don't really need to be drawing, right? You're going to be doing things like Excavated Evil, heal something, or entombing something for 6 mana. You're not going to have like a bunch of extra mana just sitting around that you could draw with. So, like the turns are pretty tight, and yeah, there's just a ton of fun options in this deck too. I love decks like this because I think it's good. I think it's actually a deck that can win, but it's also just super fun to play because every game plays out completely differently. When you have things like Thought Steal in your deck, you never know what's going to happen. Crazy stuff goes down, and that to me is just really enjoyable. So I encourage everybody who's been looking for a Priest deck, the Yogg and this was kind of what I theorized. This was where Priest of the Feast would land as a Yogg stall deck, and I'm happy to see someone already starting to kind of theorize that and concoct a good version of it. So
you mean to tell me, Dills, that you, Willie Dills Gregory, like drinking your opponent's milkshake?
Oh yeah. Oh dude. I'm definitely gonna make a Yogg milkshake deck with Priest of the Feast for sure. Like full on milkshake. Steal all your stuff deck.
And just throw Priest of the Feast in there just for fun.
Oh yeah. Well, just to keep you alive, right? Because that was always the problem with milkshake. They would just kill you. You're like, damn it, I'm trying to have fun and steal your stuff, and you're just killing my face.
Yep. Well, let's take a look at Crypt's Lock and Load Secret Hunter with which now has Cloaked Huntress in it, which is actually what we tried to build on Thursday's show, and I think we were fairly successful with it, even though
it was not bad, yeah.
Even though Lock and Load was in our bottom 8 cards, I think 2 of the 3 games we played.
Yeah. So the cool thing about what people are doing now with, and I'm not saying that Crypt's version is probably the best version, but Crypt is a guy who he generally builds okay fun decks that actually kind of work. And so I was curious to see what his version would be. There's some interesting calls in here, though. First of all, like we did, you take out the Elec because now you get Cloaked Huntress with it too often. So notable things though that aren't in here is that he doesn't have the Emperor Thoris on, which I think I would still rather have in this deck.
If you're already if you're already removing Elec, it's not that it's a bad thing to necessarily draw Thorison, but you really just want to draw Yogg. Why not? Why not have it in there? I do like the inclusion of Auctioneers though, and that was something we talked about Thursday.
Yes. So that's what I was going to point out is that this is something I tried to do too, and I'm not sure where the best actual version of this is, but it makes a lot of sense because you have so many of these cheap spells, right? Like if you look, he's got Arcane Shot, Hunter's Marks, On the Hunts, and then of course all the traps. So you have all of these cheap spells, and especially when you can get that turn where you Gadget Sand, Cloaked Huntress, and then just cycle every secret in your deck for free into a new card. That just gives you all the late game push you need as far as as a deck like this to get to like Call of the Wild, right, and actually do finishing damage. So it's I think a really exciting deck. I don't know if this is the version that's going to be the one, like I'm not so sure about Double Snipe. I think I'd probably rather have another Deadly Shot in here. He doesn't have things like Power Shot, which I think I would like to have in there. But
yeah, we weren't running Arcane Shot. I think we had one Hunter's Mark. But
people are going to test a bunch of different, because there's a lot of these removal spells in Hunter. So now you got to find just what's the right mix, and then that changes with whatever the meta currently is too. So
yeah, absolutely, and it's so spell heavy. It's almost exclusively spell. So it's in a weird way. It's not exactly like a Reno deck, but it reminds me of it. It reminds me of a Reno deck in the way that you have that much flexibility, where you can kind of put your own stamp on it. You can take certain spells out, put other ones in, and see what works.
Yeah, so essentially, if you're trying to play this deck, everyone's going to have their own take on it, and I don't think any of them is necessarily right or wrong. The thing is that the key pieces, I think, right now, and what you're going to see is the Cloaked Huntress, the Yogg, and I like the Auctioneers. And then, of course, like Call of the Wild is like a must. You got to put 2 of those in because that card is disgusting.
Yeah.
But yeah, really fun deck. I encourage everyone to get out there, try his version. I'm sure is fine. But feel free, like, dude, experiment with this deck. This is a deck that has a lot of room for your own, like Garrett said, your own stamp, right? So.
Yep. And then finally, Dills, and I'm excited to talk about this one, and I'm hoping you've actually tried it because I have not, is Tice's Murloc Paladin featuring Ivory Knight.
Yeah, this is really interesting because, so I don't know if people have seen this deck on the ladder, but there's kind of 2 versions of Murloc Paladin out there. One being the Murloc N'Zoth Paladin deck. So not only do you have the Murlocs with Anything Can Happen, you also have N'Zoth and a bunch of Death Rattle minions. Well, not a bunch, but Sylvanas, Tyrion, and like Cairn.
All you need is Tyrion, and it's worth it.
Yeah, and that's good enough. Yeah, but it's a really cool, interesting deck because it's so slow, but it there's a lot of decks that it just can't lose against, right? So when you play against, say, like a freeze mage or something, just Forbidden Healing and Ivory Knight are enough to never lose to that. You can take out, with Ivory Knight, you can take out the Lay on Hands because you can Ivory Knight into Lay on Hands, but it also like gives you that extra heal with some card draw. So it's actually an interesting card that's kind of actually fit a spot.
I mean, Discover gives you so much. It gives you a lot of options. It gives you options. Discover's just a good mechanic, so I'm not surprised to see it. I know a lot of the reviews were very lukewarm, but I think anytime you slap Discover on a card, it's worth considering.
Well, this is the kind of deck that this works in.
Yeah,
is a super slow, greedy Paladin deck, and that's what I kind of predicted. But it's just slapping it into this deck, it's like you already have Forbidden Healing, and now here's more healing, and it takes out kind of that clunky Lay on Hands card because Lay on Hands was always clunky. You wanted it because it was card draw with a bunch of healing, but the 8 mana, it's a whole turn, right? And Ivory Knight, 6 mana, and you get a 4/4 body, and you draw a card, and you heal. Like there's a lot to like in a deck like this with that card. So yeah, I think it's a really cool. It's a deck that's people are going to know inevitably that you're going to put a bunch of Murlocs on the board late in the game and kill them. So it's a scary deck to play against because so many times you'll feel like you're going to kill them. And then you just can't, The
late game is
Light Lord, there's Forbidden Healing, there's Ivory Knight.
Yeah, the end game is terrifying with Anyfin and N'Zoth, which, oh man.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. So there are versions of this without the N'Zoth, but this one, I think Tice is a really solid deck builder, and he's got, I like that everything else is a 2 of, so this deck is going to play very consistently. I've seen a lot of people trying to do weird 1-ofs of all these different things. I like his version because this is consistently going to do what it's supposed to do.
This is one of my favorite.
I encourage people to give this one a try.
This is one of my favorite archetypes in all of Hearthstone, which is just the extremely slow control deck that just makes you want to concede in the end. That's why I like Cthulhu Priest so much, is because it can go and frequently does go excruciatingly late. And if your opponent does have big threats of their own, you just get to steal them.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
By
the way, honorable mention goes out to the Taunt Warrior that a lot of people I know are out there trying. Mm-hmm. It's just not a good deck, unfortunately. So maybe maybe some cards will come out and that will change. Maybe some version of it will exist that is much better. But it goes against the Protect the King card. Just goes against everything Warriors wants to do. Warrior wants to remove the board. Warrior wants to get to their big late game bombs, and instead you're letting the opponent build the board just so you can get more 1/1s to turn into 3/3s. It just doesn't quite cut it. So keep trying, though, people. Keep trying. I encourage you to keep trying. I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
Yeah, and by that comparison, we're not saying that the 4 decks we just spotlighted are going to be tier 1, but they're very interesting and they're making splashes, and in the right hands, they can be piloted to victory. So go out there and give them a shot. And if you want to go try Taunt Warrior, do it. We're just not personally. Both of us.
I tried. I really did try, but every time I was playing it, I was like, I could just be playing Control Warrior, and I would probably be winning these games. But instead, I'm playing this weird thing. So yeah, it's But I guess honorable mention also to Fork N'Zoth Rogue that Noxious made. So Deadly Fork and N'Zoth.
He is ecstatic about that deck. I love just how excited he is about the deck. I haven't tried it yet, but
it's actually really good to bring a Fork back for free with N'Zoth. I mean, but the problem is you have to play the Fork on the way there. But because it's such a heavy control deck, it turns out to be okay. So
it's not a big deal. It's fine.
So next week we'll have all new decks to talk about, and
Hopefully.
we'll see what's up with that.
Hopefully.
It'll be cool.
Yep. Sweet. Well, let's take a crazy game story, shall we?
Is the whole world gone crazy?
You're in trouble now.
You got it!
You can send your crazy game stories to tacpodcast@gmail.com. Our story today comes to us from our friend, our patron, The Rational Pie. He says, "Hey there, fiendish fowls. While I'm sure that a lot of players have about the same crazy game story that I do, the speed that it happened really made me feel special. I had a few minutes to kill and figured I'd make a quick run at Heroic Malchezaar." So I'm assuming he meant the Parlor. He says, "Little did I realize just how fast it would be. As you know, you play a pre-built deck as Medivh, and on turn 1, I had a pretty solid hand. 2 Astral Portals and an Evocation. Oh boy. Naturally, I pop the Evocation, draw some cards with my hero power, and play out an Astral Portal. As soon as the card leaves my hand, I hear the fanfare, 'You require my assistance?' Damn straight I do, Antonitis. I quickly check the cards drawn off my hero power, and lo and behold, I had the Disco Sheep, Archmage's Insight, that makes all spells cost 0 mana, and sure enough, and just enough mana left over from my evocation to play it. Just to be polite, I give Malchezaar a well played before I uninvite him from the party in a flurry of fireballs popping out of my laughing Archmage. Long story short, on the first turn of my very first attempt, I beat Heroic Malchezaar before he even had a chance to play a single card." He also attached a screenshot. Keep on clucking.
Wow. Okay. So I somehow missed the part where this was heroic version. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dope.
Heroic Malchezaar, turn 1 victory.
Yep. Done. Wipe that one off. All right. Moving on.
Good.
That's pretty sweet.
Lord, yeah, that's fantastic. Rational Pie. I hope a friend was around to witness this. I hope, or you know what, whatever. Now you have many friends. You have
Exactly.
tens of thousands of friends listening right
have
now.
heard about your story now.
Yes, absolutely. So may we all bask in the joy of your swift and decisive victory. Now, Dills, let's wrap the show up with an email or two.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello?
Just quickly, did you get my message?
Yep.
Oh,
Hello, brother.
You can send your emails to the same place, tacpodcast@gmail.com. And Dills is highlighting something in the show notes right now because I think he's trying to see how horribly I will pronounce
I'm
this.
Google translating right now.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
our first email comes to us from Bernard. And Bernard has a very interesting intro. It's not like a horrible cuss word, is it?
No, hold on. Wait. Wutendhuner.
Okay, yeah.
Wutendhuner is how you say that.
Yeah. So he says, "Hallo Wutenhuna."
That means mad chickens.
Mad chickens in German,
in
I would
German,
assume.
yes.
We have umlauts on both U's in both words. I'm going to go with German.
The creativity never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah,
you guys.
yeah, Wutenhuna. He says, "My favorite class is the Varlock, and I was wondering," no, I'm done, what your take on changes to the build / new builds you are expecting with Karazhan coming out today, woo, or voo. The idea of discard lock seems intriguing, but it doesn't seem very viable. It'd be great to finally see something other than Zoo and Reno lock, although I can't complain. Poor priest. He also said, Cho'Gall is a hero? I second that motion. So he said, keep on clucking. So we already talked a bit about discard lock, but how do you think that the imp is gonna just put it up over the edge?
I do. I think that this will be a tier 1 deck. I think we're going to see this in tournaments just because it has the ability to just run people over, you know? And you already see a lot of Zoo, but Zoo is starting to have some bad matchups. And people know that Zoo's coming, so they're kind of teched for it. What this deck does that Zoo doesn't do is kill you by like turn 4 and 5, you know? And that is something that people are going to bring to tournaments a deck that can do that. I don't know if you remember the early days of Hearthstone, Garrett, where we would watch tournaments and we were like, how fast is this game going to get? Because that's all people were doing, was just trying to see how damn fast they could make their decks. And not just with Warlock, with every single class. It was just like, oh, every curve ends at 3.
Which, in retrospect, I'm surprised that we were so surprised by that. This is a game with a perfect mana curve.
Yeah.
Every game, you're going to have a perfect mana curve, unless you do something weird like destroy mana crystals. But
yeah. So you can just put in low cost cards and always get there because you always play them on curve, and that's what a deck like this does so well. Is it always uses all of its mana and it uses it so damn efficiently. When you're paying 2 mana for 4/3s, and you get 2 ways to do that, by the way.
Yep.
Succubus and Wrathguard. So you got like lots of ways to just be paying less than you're supposed to for stats and then just going face. So yeah. I think this deck is, if Bernard, if you wanted a discard lock to be viable, dude, it happened. It totally happened. And it's only going to get better with the imp.
And that's kind of, I just wanted to bask in the surprising realization that we appear to be there. That discard Warlock finally. It's funny because I feel like if you had talked to any of us last week, we probably would have been like, well, Karazhan, it's looking like it's not going to be a super impactful adventure. But that said, this has now made 2 archetypes that I feel we've either A, wanted to be a thing, or Blizzard has been trying to make a thing and failing, happen. Because it's going to make Beast Druid happen.
Oh,
and it's already made Discard Warlock happen.
Yep. Yeah, it's this is what I want from these smaller sets, is to kind of fill out ideas that weren't fully there yet. And not only that, I think Lock and Load Secret Hunter might actually be a thing that starts to really exist. There's a few. Dragon Paladin, that's like a tempo Dragon Paladin, might actually be a thing. So I think there's a few archetypes that are going to come out of this. And when we look back on Karazhan, I think we're going to say it had a lot more impact than we thought it was going to, for sure.
Yeah, especially
already doing it.
Especially considering the week leading up to launch, because of all of the doomsaying, all of the negativity.
Yeah.
I'm already. And I definitely bought into some of that myself. I wasn't, if you listen to me clearly, I was like, I think people are blowing it out of proportions. But I wasn't extremely excited after I saw all the cards.
Well, I have a 5-part YouTube series where I review every card. And when I was watching it back a little bit, just to, kind of revisit some of the cards and what I thought of them before I played them, I was like, man, it sounds like I hate all of these cards. But really, I was just trying to be as realistic about them as I could. And like, how good are they actually compared to, say, this that already exists? But the fact is, there are some cards in here that offer new things that we haven't had before. So, yeah, I think this set is going to make a lot more waves than people thought it was going to, which is very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you want to take the next email?
Sure. This one comes from Nathan. Says, Aegon on ladder. Hi there, Undercity Clucksters. Writing today with a problem I've created that makes me feel terrible. I've been listening and playing for a long time. I've gradually convinced my wife to play Hearthstone too. She loves the adventures and plays them almost exclusively. I regularly plead with her to play the game's other modes, and she says she is afraid to because people are mean. When I ask what she's talking about, she makes reference to me tilting, shouting curse words, and otherwise making terribly mean statements about my opponent when I am playing competitively. It seems as though I've accidentally created a monster in her mind about her Hearthstone opponents. Help! How can I convince her that most players are kind, charming, lovable clucksters like you, rather than the frothing berserker I occasionally become when I lose to my 5th straight Dragon Warrior at rank 6? Thanks, love the show.
Oh, Nathan,
Wow.
I have done the exact same thing to my wife, which is give her a rather salty peer into the life of a gamer trying to try hard.
See, I have the mentality that I just don't care. Like, if my opponent is a jerk, I don't care. It just makes me want to beat them more. But I totally get this. Like, I see where people are coming from when, and Jocelyn, I wish Jocelyn was here to talk about this one, because I know she has had this same kind of issue. Like, she didn't want to play Heroes for a long time, right? Because she didn't want to go in and then not be very good and then have people, talk smack to her on her own team or whatever and just be mean. And I get that, because it's like, you don't want to go out into the world and then just be told you suck. All right, that's not fun for anybody. The good thing about Hearthstone is you can squelch every opponent.
Yep.
And never accept friend requests from people you don't know. And you'll never have to hear a word from them.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. There's kind of 2 points to this, which is one, Nathan, I've been working on my own gamer rage, and I would say something you should probably work on as well. Believe me, if I can work on it, anyone can.
You're going to gamer anger management classes?
Yeah. No, actually, honestly, dude, I'll say you've been a fantastic influence on me because you every time this comes up, you're like, dude, just remove emotion from it. The cards are dealt in a certain way. If you play to the best of your ability, move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and if you didn't play to the best of your ability, figure out where it went wrong and learn from the experience. That's what you should do, and that's what I say folks should do. I don't know. I still don't always do it. It's hard to keep up with that.
I struggle too. I got salty on stream last night because this friggin' druid drew like the best possible cards in the best possible order, and I was like, but I catch myself now.
Yeah.
I even said to chat, like, I know I'm getting salty right now. So at least now that I'm aware, now that I'm self-aware, I can maybe turn it off, right?
Yep. Exactly. And that's what you need to do. The other thing is exactly what you brought up. Hearthstone in-game, the game client, is horribly antisocial. There are no social features. They're getting a little better with, duel your friend quests and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But there's no general chat. There's no chat rooms. There's no guild system, I think, to the game's discredit. However, it does make it a much more approachable place to be for a newcomer. You're not going to go in and get told that you suck. You're not going to get berated by your opponent through behind a wall of anonymity. The worst that they can do is emote spam you, and you can right-click squelch.
Here's the other idea. I'll give you one more idea here. Create a little cutout of just Jocelyn's face, like doing like that or something. Maybe we should get her to do it. And then just on your iPad, just like fold that over your opponent's little screen there. So you just imagine every opponent is like smiley, happy Jocelyn, and they're just they're giving you the thumbs up. You know,
you're killing me. I'm imagining it in my head now. Yeah,
that'll fix it right there.
Works
dude.
too.
Guaranteed fix.
Or Dills or me, whoever, whatever dumb smiling face you want. Let us know. We will get you a ridiculous photo that you can print and tape on your iPad.
You know what we should do? We should start making those. We should market like little like stickers, but those like old stickers that you could put on glass and it would peel off.
Yep.
Yep. But just of like our faces in the little Hearthstone cutout thing, just being like, "You're doing great."
Hey, you've got a green screen.
That's true.
I've got a green screen. Hey, I'm not giving a date on this, but I'm just going to put this. Hey, patrons, you might be getting a small perk in your inbox very soon.
Static clings. That's right, Magooch. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. This will fit right onto your iPad. It'll be perfect.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Oh, and my dog is so excited about it. He's barking. That's how excited he is about it. So, anyways, that's more or less going to wrap up this episode of the Angry Chicken. Little shorter than we had planned. I have a meeting here in like 10 minutes, and we had some tech difficulties, but we hit everything we wanted to hit. We've got 4 new decks in the show notes that folks you can go to amove.tv/TAC. To go and try out and let us know. Tweet at us, email us, let us know how these decks are going for you. If you found a deck you want us to talk about, let us know about it. Write in tacpodcast@gmail.com. So, anyways, thanks for tuning in. Thanks to all our patrons again, supporting us at patreon.com/TAC. To our iTunes listeners, keep those 5-star reviews coming. They help the show out incredibly. So thank you for those. Dills, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Willie Dills. Check out the stream, twitch.tv/WillieDillsSF, the brand new, freshly partnered stream. Check out the Instance, the World of Warcraft podcast. And sadly, you can no longer check out Stormcast. But hey, still got plenty of stuff to do. I reached the personal Patreon goal to be doing weekly deck techs. So the youtube.com/WillieDillsSF, there's a lot of decks that will be coming out. So if you're interested in finding out about new decks, that will be happening on my YouTube channel. So, every single week we'll talk about a new deck, we'll play some games with it, we'll discuss maybe some options for replacement cards and all that kind of stuff. So there's going to be a ton. I'm not going to be hurting for material there, so check that out.
Awesome. That's totally freaking sweet. Folks, you can follow me on Twitter at Garrett Art. You can find this show and everything else I do on TV. So make sure to go check that out. Come find me at the Orlando Fireside Gathering in downtown Orlando this weekend. Again, that website address is meetup.com/Florida Fireside. And you can find out all the information you could possibly want for the Tavern Hero Tournament, the HCT Summit Preliminary, and the 3-day public Fireside we'll be hosting. It's free entry. Come on out. Support your local Fireside. I'm looking forward to it. Other than that, we'll see you guys Thursday for another playthrough of the second wing of One Night in Karazhan. Until then, job's done.
Job's done. Job's done.
Yes!
Job's done.
This podcast is part of the Frog Pants Studios Network. For more information about this and other shows, visit frogpants.com. Audio program so good, it's like you're there.